How you doing anyway? Are you all right?
Not bad, mate. How are you?
Pretty good. Been really I don't know, just super busy recently. That's why it's taken a while to get this sorted. But yeah, been how did the live event go?
Yeah, it went well in the end, cheers, mate. Yeah. I have to do a bit of pushing with it, but
Yeah,
it was like invited quite a few like former guests and stuff, so it was like quite a bit of a community vibe. It's quite cool to see like different people chatting to each other and that
yeah,
from that scene kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah. And I've been watching some of the episodes. I liked the one that you did with Matt. That was good. And
Yeah, it went
Russell,
down really well that one. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Hopefully get Gordon on in the new year. But
Yeah, have you spoke to him or?
yeah, yeah, because he's got a new band as well, I think.
Yeah, no, I just think I don't know. It's like I find it interesting that everyone's story is different. You know what I mean? Because I always I guess with me and Gary, like because we grew up together, we had this like such a specific idea of why you were in a band and what you were doing it for, and what the parameters were and what was and wasn't acceptable and all this kind of shit. And it's like you listen to other people's stories and it's just like it's all completely. I mean, everyone's got something in common, but it's completely different. You know, I think that the thing that me and Gary thought was why you did it is just like one small reason. You know what I mean? And but to us, we kind of assumed everyone thought that. You know,
No, I know what you mean, 'cause I was watching an interview you did at the Great Escape. I think it was where you played mini golf and that.
right? Oh yeah, that was ages ago. I forgot. Like, I feel like when we did that, we literally just got we literally just got I think it was like on the day that we got back from like a 2 month US arena tour with Franz Ferdinand and Death Cab for Cutie. So we were like completely beaten up and fried on that day.
Okay.
I think we had a show as well. Yeah, we were doing the Great Escape, right? Yeah, we were just it was
Yeah.
just non-stop at that time. I don't think there was any, um, you know, there was if something was physically possible, it was scheduled and you did it. But not a lot of consideration was taken into how like uncomfortable it was going to be. But like, what were you going to say about the interview?
No, just like you made the point that like, you just weren't interested in anything else but what the Cribs are doing in terms of music and that it's just
Yeah,
that kind of single-mindedness in terms of the music not being like influenced by anything else. I thought that's pretty, I don't know, it's quite
yeah,
unique,
but
I suppose, at that age, maybe.
well, it's weird because I feel like we still kind of try and do that now. I feel like if we're writing, um, well, maybe not. Like I don't know about like Gary, but like I feel like if I'm writing music, I'm not listening to music. I never, if I'm going through a writing phase, I'm not listening to any music at all. You know, yeah, like, and I feel like when I stop listening to music, I know that I'm going to go into a writing phase. And I don't know whether or not it's just not wanting to be like influenced or polluted or whatever by other people's ideas, or if it's just like I get so sick of not having anything to listen to. It kind of makes me want to start writing. I don't know, but I've always kind of like kept the two things pretty separate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And it felt like you could probably spot a band that was being anywhere contrived from a mile off type thing back then, maybe.
Yeah, no, that I think that's the thing that like we had like we were never ever like bad natured kind of
Yeah,
people
yeah.
or anything, but I always felt like there was something about like like when you just subconsciously identify something like that, that immediately I just found to be a turn off because um, you know, it's just intent, isn't it? You know, it's like I feel like people just go into like everyone's got different intentions for why they play music or they're in a band or whatever, and there's a certain element of there's only a small element of that that actually appeals to me. You know, it's like, and if that isn't there, then it doesn't matter how good the music is. It's never going to appeal to me for some reason because it comes through in the music. You can I don't know like it's got to feel there has to feel like there's an authenticity to stuff. Otherwise, if it's missing that, it just leaves me cold, really.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm definitely going to ask you more about songwriting because I totally overlooked that in our last interview. So
Yeah,
going to
I don't
make up for
remember the
that.
last interview because it was during the pandemic, and I feel like I was just like in a, I don't know, I just wasn't in a good way the time that we did the last interview, but so I don't fully remember it, but I'll have to give it another listen because, like I said, I've been watching a few of the, you know, I always keep up to date with your podcast.
Cheers, mate. Yeah, appreciate that. But yeah, thanks for putting together your list of 10 songs from the 2000s.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a refreshing list. A lot of them I'd not heard before, so it's pretty cool for me.
Well, like, yeah, I wasn't trying to be like purposefully like, go off piste or whatever, but it was more a case of I think that the songs that I came up with were stuff that like not only did we listen to a lot, like not only did the Cribs listen to it a lot, but like the kind of like mark specific years through the especially in the early history of the band before we got before I started touring properly. So there's good anecdotes and stuff around it, and it just allows me to kind of like expand on the interview that we did before, go into a bit more detail on specific periods and stuff. But the like like yeah, they're all great songs though. And like I was saying, I didn't think I'd been particularly vague, but it obviously like I think there was a load of like I tried to keep bands that we toured with or that we were friends with not on the list because then there's just so many. You go over 10 like straight away if it was like you pick one song by every band that you ever did a show with that you thought was good or whatever. So I tried to kind of like stay away from that one.
No, yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
Mm.
But going into the first one then, by Sean Nana, maybe better known as Hamar Superstar with Princess and the Pony. What's the story with this one?
So this going back to about 2000 and I guess it was like 2001. Um, so me and Gary were I think we probably just left college, but we'd it was, I guess you had the internet and stuff back then, but it was pretty difficult to. I don't even know if there was anything like Napster, the probably was. But if you wanted to hear new music, we would order stuff from like mail order stuff from like labels that we liked. But that, I mean, like a lot of those were in the US. So if you were ordering something on a mail order, it would generally take you know about a month or something to show up. So I think like we'd ordered some like records from Kill Rock Stars, the label in the who were based out in Olympia in Washington. So it took like about a month to show up, and when they sent us it, they'd thrown in a load of like extra stuff like compilation CDs and stuff. And on one of the compilations, it was like a 2 disc set, and there was early stuff by like a lot of bands that went on to be big in the 2000s. There was like some early stuff by Yeahs on there, and the Mooney Suzuki, or one of the New York bands that of the Strokes era. And but the best song on it, or the one that we listened to the most, was this one, Princess and the Pony. Now, Hammer wasn't a thing at the time. This to us, this was just like it was just like a random find on a compilation CD that we listened to all the time in 2001. And when I went out to Chicago in summer 2002. I was staying out there for a little while, and there was a really good record store there called Reckless Records where you could go. We used to like because me and Gary were always like looking for new records and stuff and ordering stuff on mail order. A lot of the stuff that we would be ordering, you could get at this place. Reckless, it had a really good selection of independent labels and just stuff that you couldn't get in like HMV. So I looked up. I tried to find Sean Nana's records. They didn't have any. They just had Harmar. But at the time, he was going under this like he was telling people that Harmar was Sean Nana's brother. It was like you know, because it was, I guess it was a side project or something, and he was coming up with like a whole backstory for it. Um, I didn't get that record. To be honest, like the idea of, you know, when I read the synopsis of Harmar's music, I didn't really like the sound of it. But I picked up a few of, like, you know, picked up the Sean Nana releases that they had there, and he eventually ended like, even after, like, I think in probably like 2011, 2012, they got back together and came on a tour with the Cribs in the US. So we did a full tour with Sean, and it's just good stuff. He's a great songwriter, you know.
Yeah, I've been hoping to get him on at some point. He said he was keen a while ago, so I need to chase that up.
Yeah,
That'd be good.
yeah. I mean, he's got such a long, um, you know, he's had a long career in it. You know, it's not just Hammer. He's done all sorts of stuff. So he's definitely an interesting guy in that respect.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, here's the song. Here's Sean Nana with Princess and the Pony. And then, yeah, you mentioned you've been busy with, speaking of ponies, I guess, exclamation pony. Um,
Yeah.
Lovely segue. Yeah, you've been busy with them recently, type thing.
Well, just being kind of like trying to, you know, trying to do more shows and trying. I mean, that whole project was kind of like put to bed back in, you know, like it's probably like 10 years ago that, like, well, I mean, it will be 10 years ago that we put the single out with Julian, but the I went through a phase of just not wanting to put that record out. I was kind of like, it's, you know, I wrote the songs. You know, the songs were written for a specific reason. I didn't attach any kind of. There was no motivation for other people to hear it. You know, that's just the way that I felt about it. But the last few years, like, there's been. Last few years have been really weird. There's been like we've just had some like Jen, my girlfriend who's in the band, she's had some pretty bad health problems. So it was a case of, I just thought that was if there was going to ever be a reason to resurrect the band, that was going to be it. So it's just what we just naturally started doing. So we've been doing more shows. I mean, the record was finished a long time ago, so it's not like there's any work that needs to be done there. But yeah, just started doing shows again, but it's been great. I think we're like actually a lot better now than what we were like even back in the day, because back in the day it was so chaotic. You know, it was such a chaotic band that I feel like the shows were like really fun and had like a charm and an appeal and stuff. But I feel like the performance wise, I just think we're a lot better now. You know, we're kind of like, it's not like we're just like fully focused on the music now or anything, because like that's, nothing is as boring as that. But it's just it's definitely not as, I mean, I know that the shows are going to happen now. Like, so sometimes in the past it would be like you didn't even know that the shows were going to happen, or something would fall apart or whatever. But yeah, it's just been really good getting it back together. And we're down to a three-piece now, because we used to have this other guy Justin in the band, but he's he's working in musicals and stuff at the minute. So we've been doing a few shows. We did one. We did one like a couple of weeks ago here in. We only really play in New York. That's kind of, again, that's kind of like part of the. It's not like part of the concept, but it's just the way that we work at the minute. We'd just rather not play outside of New York. So we did a show a couple of weeks ago. Matt came down, actually. Matt from Matt
All right.
Tong. Yeah, like, so it was good. I saw him then. We've been out for a drink a couple of times since then. He came back to my house actually and met my cat, because I was telling him in the taxi on the way home that I had Liberace's toilet seat and he wanted to see it. So he came in and I showed him it, and yeah, it's been fun.
All right. What's the story with the toilet seat?
Oh, it belonged to Liberace. Do you know Liberace?
I just know the name. I don't really know what's
Yeah.
behind it.
Well, just look it up anyway. If you look him up, you'll be like, "Holy shit, he's got his toilet seat. That's amazing.
Yes.
I've got like a weird I don't know, just accidentally over the years, I've kind of collected like some like my house is almost like a little like pseudo rock and roll museum. I've got like loads of random stuff like that. Like um, back back in like 2007 or something, the guy that used to manage Johnny Thunders sent me his shirt that he'd left on tour one time. And I've got all these like that's just one of the things. But I've just got all these like random bits of memorabilia at home, which I didn't I never went out and bought any of them. It's just stuff that for some reason ended up at my house.
Yes. Have you still got your old shirts? You know, like the classic shirts you used to
Yeah,
wear.
it's funny because some of those like I was actually looking for some of them because I thought that when we put out a box set of all the early records like a couple of years ago when we reissued the first three records. We thought it'd be like cool to dig out a load of those old shirts, for like social media posts or just to recreate some old band photos or something. And I was pretty sure that I knew where all of them were, but I managed to find a couple of them. But some of the ones that people would remember, I had like a white one that was like that always basically looked like something you would clean your dishes with. I couldn't find that one, and I was sure I knew where that one was. But some of the other ones, some of the other ones we managed to find. They were all kind of fucked anyway. They were all, like I got ripped at shows and stuff over the years, but um, just the passage of time, like those like ripped shirts have just been deteriorating and deteriorating. So they're in pretty bad. They're in, like I do still have them, but they're in pretty bad shape. I actually threw a pair of like red PVC trousers away yesterday. I was cleaning my house. I was like doing just spring cleaning before Christmas, and I used to have this pair of like super tight red PVC pants that I thought were really cool, and I'd left them in the bottom drawer with all my t-shirts and jumpers and stuff. And over the years, they've just turned into, because it's made out of like a chemical, they've just reverted back to the chemical form and basically destroyed all my other clothes by just coating them in this like weird red goo, you know what I mean, that you just cannot get off. So
Oh God.
that's one of the problems with wearing rock and roll pants, though. They'll just destroy all your other clothes in time.
Yeah, I feel like all that stuff should be in some kind of museum to be preserved.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
some of our stuff is in Wakefield Museum, though. They
Okay.
took like a bunch of stuff off us. They've got like some bits and pieces of guitars, like smashed up guitars. Like they do have some of my old clothes actually. There's like there was a pair of jeans that I used to wear because like so you remember in the 2000s everyone wore like I don't want to call them like skinny jeans, but that's what everyone used to call them. Everyone would wear like
Yeah.
skinny jeans. To me, I always just call them drain pipe jeans, but and everyone would get them from the like you'd get them from like the women's section of H&M or whatever. I never wanted to wear the. I always thought that like when people wore too skinny jeans, it looked like they were trying too hard. But I I'd bought from the Salvation Army from the Salvation Army in Wakefield. I'd bought a pair of like 70s, like new old stock Levi drain pipe jeans, and they were so cool. They were way better than they were way better than what people were buying in the 2000s. But because I wore them all the time, they were always falling apart. So I was always stitching them back up and patching them and stuff. And they ended up like it was kind of like Trigger's broom. It wasn't like the original pair of jeans by the end. You know what I mean? They've been fixed so many times and like patched up with other pair of jeans so many times that it wasn't really that same pair of jeans anymore. But the final straw came for them when like we were at a party that the Queens of Noise was putting on, and they were throwing birthday cake around, and they got covered in like birthday cake and fresh cream. And when fresh cream stops being fresh, it goes really sour and it smells awful. So my jeans smelled so bad that I was like, I just can't wear them anymore. And they never got washed, and they're in Wakefield Museum, just smelling just like rancid milk.
Yes.
Yeah.
For anyone that wants to go and test that theory out.
Yeah. They're probably behind bulletproof glass or something like that, so you can't smell it.
All right, mate, let's go to your second song then by a
Yeah.
band called Destroyer, a
Yeah.
song called The Bad Arts. Yeah, something I've not heard before, but what's the story with this one?
So, like, Destroy were another band that, like, I was saying that we were, like, it was more difficult to get, before streaming, obviously, it was way more difficult to get records. So, you know, like, we would get them through mail order or through people that you knew, friends that you knew would like make you mixtapes or send you copies of cassettes and stuff. So in summer, like yeah, probably summer 2002, me, Gary, and Ross were all living back together at my parents' house. I moved out of my parents' house when I was 18, and so did Gary. But once there was, once record companies started getting interested in us, which was completely out of the blue. We weren't chasing that, but and we were working at the time. We were working in a factory, and so as soon as like these labels started getting interested in us, we kind of figured that it'd be better for us all to live together, so that because like there'd be times where there was a time when a label would come up to Leeds to come and they wanted to like come in and watch us, come and watch us rehearse. But I was in Amsterdam and I was on, when we got the phone call, I was on magic mushrooms. So obviously we couldn't, like, it just wasn't going to happen. But it was like, it was really disappointing. And the thing is, my brothers didn't know, like, we didn't know each other's movements, you know what I mean? So it made more sense for us all to live together, so that if something like that happened, then we were all together, or we knew where each other were. And plus, like, it would just be better for writing songs and stuff. So we were all living back at my folks and just listening. Yeah, like, just wasn't much to do there, so we just spent a lot of time listening to records. But during that period, so before we actually like committed to a label, or before we actually signed a deal, we were basically jumping on a load of shows in either Leeds or Sheffield, because the promoters there knew that, like, we drew a good crowd and stuff. So any bands that came through, like decent bands came through, we would always get offered support shows from. And we supported this band. We supported Bobby Conn, who was like one of the, probably one of our favorite bands at the time. And it's a long story, but like after that, like I had started dating someone who was part of Bobby Conn's, like entourage or friend group, or whatever you would say, and we were keeping in touch via just through the mail, because she lived in Chicago, and she was sending me tapes and stuff that she thought I would like, and Destroyer was one of the tapes sent me was a copy of Destroyer's record, and I just thought it was just something that I really liked, and I listened to it a lot that summer. So this, like, specifically this song takes me back to like when me and my brothers all moved back in together in 2002, and also when I went out and started living in Chicago.
But yeah, let's play both of those songs now. Then we'll play Destroyer first with the Bad Arts, and then we'll go into Winners by Bobby Conn.
Yeah, I guess they kind of link together.
Yeah, is there anything else you want to say about either of those songs, I guess?
Well, I mean, the only thing I would say about like the Destroyer stuff was, like, to me, the reason that I really liked it is I was like, oh, it doesn't really sound like anything that I'd heard before. You know what I mean? I was like, it's like really unique. You know what I mean? Like, it's poppy, but it's kind of weird, and I thought it was really unique. And then I was listening to it the other day, And Jen, my girlfriend, was like, just sounds like someone trying to be Bowie. And as soon as she said that, I couldn't hear it any different. You know what I mean? I was like, man, it totally does, you know. It like totally changed my opinion of it.
Yeah, it's annoying when people do that sometimes, isn't
Yeah,
it? Yeah, it
but
sounded
it's
like
good.
different songs in one kind of thing because it's 7 minutes long, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just got a
Yeah.
great outro. But yeah, I know. Oh man, it is actually pretty long, isn't it?
No, it's good that I enjoyed it.
Bit problem, yeah.
And then just going back to the Cut Records thing, are you still on Cut Records now then? How does it work?
No, so well, I mean, we just did a single deal with Colt. That was it. You know, that was
Right.
the only that was all that we did at the time because uh maybe just I sent Julian a few songs and so he just heard like when he no Julian had asked me to send him a few songs, so I sent him about three or four, and he really liked that one song, Pseudo Individual, which like, and he just said, "Oh, I want to put it out as a single." Now that was the extent of the conversation. It didn't go any further than like, "Oh, I want to like do a single and then an album," and you know what I mean. It was just like, oh, "I want to put that song out as a single and make a video for it and stuff." And so I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. And then his lawyer got in touch with me and we just did a contract for just one single. That was it. There wasn't really any discussion about, you know, like where things were going to go from there. And like, you know, like by the time that we'd finished that, I told you on the call last time, like finishing that single and like, you know, mixing it, they went through a lot of different like versions, like because Julian was kind of producing it. So like you know he rearranged it a few times. I'd have to re-record and rewrite lyrics and stuff, and then we mixed it a lot of times. And then the video is quite a the video was quite a fancy video that took a long time. So by the
Was
time
that
the
a Warren
single
Fu
came,
thing?
you are.
That Warren Fu?
Yeah, so it was Warren did it. Who he's great, and I mean, like for what he did, it was like he's very like quick and efficient. But like you can see that that's not that's not a quick cheap lo-fi video. That was like a proper production. So the video took a while, and by the time that single came out, like the Cribs were busy working again. Julian was working on the Voids, and it you know it, there wasn't really any discussions about what we were going to do next. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, well, we just kind of thought, oh, well, that's done. I was back on Crib's business. He was doing his thing. And yeah, that was just that's just as far as it went. I did go in for some meetings with him about what we're going to do about the album because I was kind of like, after I'd done the singles, it's either got to come out like quickly or it's going to get old. Um, but as far as where both of us were, like I said, we both had other things that we were working on. It just kind of ended up getting kind of like just kind of missed the boat on it, I suppose. And like I said, it was quite a casual, chaotic band was Ex Pony back then. You know what I mean? It wasn't like it like it originally started because when I moved to New York, it was like there was a promoter who ran a venue in Williamsburg who was like he was going to give me he gave me about $500 a week to just do a show in his it was only like a small bar, but the first time I would just get up and I didn't even know what I was going to do, just play some random like crib songs or whatever, just write stuff on the spot. And so it kind of like grew out of that, really. Just like when I moved to New York, I just really liked the idea of playing shows regularly. Just doing stuff like off the cuff and without planning it. So it kind of grew out of that. Really, it wasn't like a serious. I didn't go into it like thinking that it was gonna like. I didn't go into it looking for a record deal again. So
Yeah, yeah, just a very organic type thing.
Well, yeah, just like I wasn't. We were never sitting down and planning. Oh, what do we do next? What's the future for this band? You know what I mean? There's never. Throughout my entire, I don't think that there's ever been a conversation like that throughout my entire 20 years in music.
Yeah, fair, yeah. And then, did Julian produce the whole album then?
No, it
Just a
so
single?
yeah, so the album, like, so when it comes to the album, when I moved to New York, Jen was living in a studio. That's like, you know, she was living in the studio called the Mage Room, which was in the Lower East Side. And through the day, it was a functional commercial studio. It was a great studio. It was, you know, it was like an old school studio with like tape machine and you know, it's like a proper studio anyway. But through the day, you know, it was in use, and like, you know, they were hiring it out to people. With on a night, we just had like the run of the place. So like me and Jen would, like, with us both being musicians, just naturally started writing songs together. And you know, I've worked in studios for years. I've known how to engineer and produce for like a long time. So I was doing the engineering side of it and the production side of it with Jen. And so all the songs were just recorded well, you know what I mean? It wasn't like they were done. You know, it's not like if me and Jen were writing together now, we'd probably be doing it on a laptop at home, and then we'd have to go and record it properly. But because we were writing it in an actual studio, everything was recorded really, really well. So there was never any need for it to be produced. But when Julian wanted to put that one single out, he had like specific ideas of how he wanted it producing. You know, I mean, it's that song came out with like much more of an 80s kind of vibe than it would have done without Julian being involved. So he was great. You know, he was great to work with because he has such a specific idea, and he's really chasing something very specific. And like that's why I think a lot of the things that were on Cult really, you know, felt really cohesive and went together really well. You know, the videos and the artwork and the production, it all kind of really worked together. But that's his vision.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it does have a similar aesthetic, I guess, to his first solo album a little bit.
Yeah, so it's like he took like he took the song, he took one of my songs that lent itself to that production, and then you know, uh, he produced it to sound that way.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. And then, so the album's going to make its way out eventually, type thing, do you reckon?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, it will do now, I think, because, like I said, um, since everything kind of like went to shit a couple of years ago, like we've just spent a lot more time on rehearsing and doing shows with Exponent. You know, so it is definitely more active now than probably than what it was back when. You know, it's probably more active now than it was the first time around. But um, you know, we're signed to like a pretty big management company out here who kind of like helped get the record, because there was so many songs. There was like loads of songs, and some of them were unmixed and stuff. So they kind of like helped like finish it off and select the best tracks and stuff like that. So you know, we're kind of like, yeah, we're working with a management company out here now. So it's not like a case of I can, you know, it is a bit more serious. It's not something that I can just like casually just be like, oh fuck it, I'll just put it out online. You know what I mean? Which I don't think I would have done that anyway. Because I don't think there's much romance to that kind of stuff. But you know, beforehand, that's the kind of thing that I might have just done. You know, but I can't really do that now.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. We'll look forward to it. But then going back to the songs, New York related band, Moldy Peaches.
Yeah.
We've looking.
Can I just go get a drink because my throat is so dry.
Yeah, I got a
Um,
toilet as well, to be fair.
sounds like I'm doing like that whole vocal fry thing, you know what I mean? Everyone will be like getting like, I don't know, we're doing people's head in.
All right, yeah, so
Yeah,
Moldy
Moldy
Peaches.
Peaches, we'll say.
Why this specific song?
So, um, specifically this song, because this is the first song that I ever downloaded on Napster.
All right.
Like, so, that definitely timestamps it, which I thought was kind of a nice, nice bit of nostalgia for people. But the, I hadn't heard the Moldy Peaches until there was a night when, so when did this record come out? This was like 2001 or something, wasn't it? So it must have been like, yeah, it must have been like 2001 or something. Me and Gary would go out on these like we're on like there was so little to do in the village that we grew up in. We'd go out and buy like cans of beer and just go like just sit outside and like go for walks and just get drunk on a Friday and a Saturday. And we ended up at one of my friends' houses who we ended up near one of my friends' houses, and we'd found this kitten that it just come out of the bushes, and it had like one eye and half a tail, and there was obviously something really wrong with it. So my brother was like, "Oh, like we'll take it." We were near one of my friends' house. We'll take it there, and we'll see if he'll like call the vets and look after it and stuff. So we did that, but he couldn't look after it, so just cut a long story short, Gary ended up like adopting it and took it back to Wakefield. But because we were at this guy's house that we haven't seen for ages, I ended up sleeping over, and when we went to sleep that night, he was like, "Oh, I'm just going to put some records on, and as we fall asleep." And the record that he put on was the Molly Peach album, and I had never heard it at that point. But like when I don't know if other people get this, but I always get it that if a good song comes on while you're asleep, like you wake up and hear it, and then
No,
you remember
definitely.
it the next day. You know what I mean? So I don't know what it is in your brain that must
Yeah, that's true.
identify
That.
that. Oh, I really like this song, and it wakes you up.
Yeah, yeah. You can literally wake up with it in your head again. It's mad, yeah.
Yeah, and then you wake up the next day and you remember it, but you don't fully remember having heard it. So that's I had that with Lucky Charms, and but he wouldn't lend me the CD because back then you didn't just lend someone a CD because if you're not going to see them again, you know what I mean? Like you've just lost the record basically. So I went up. So I was going up to my auntie's house for dinner. She was making Sunday dinner, and she had a computer with the internet. So I looked it up on Napster and started it downloading like one song, and it said it was going to take 36 hours. So I left it downloading, like tying up her phone line for like 2 days.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, and then I went up a couple of days later, burnt it onto a CD. So I just had a CD with just that one song on it. But I loved that song. I was so like, there's something about that record in general that really appealed to me. The fact that it was done like on like a 4 track. Like we used to spend all our time, just getting stoned and recording stuff on 4 tracks because that's just how me and Gary lived. You know what I mean? That's just what we did for fun. So the fact that the record had that kind of a sound really appealed to us. Like the songs were great. Um, it has that kind of like thing that you just can't put your finger on that where it's like it's got like a New York kind of vibe to it that you don't know how to explain it. And yeah, like the whole album's great. Like I think that's like for me, it's definitely one of my favorite records of that. It probably is my favorite record of that entire era. Is that Molly Peaches record?
Okay, great. Well, here it is. Here's Moldy Peaches with Lucky Charms. Yeah, when I was listening today, it's like it's got that Daniel Johnston quality, hasn't it? Where it's like this is just something you can't put your finger on. It's just
Yeah.
some certain magic to it.
Well, there's something that like I always like paradoxes. I find that to be like really like really appealing. I love like musically my favorite like it's almost like the all the things that I like best in art are kind of like paradoxes. Like I love really good pop songs, but written by someone who's like fucked up, you know, like not like a typical pop star, or like really really good songs that are like kind of badly recorded. You know what I mean? Like those two things make it better. You know, it's like it's better for being a flawed recording. You know what I mean? Like you know, like the like two things that just don't necessarily go together just like work really well in art, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I know what you mean.
He's like Daniel Johnson, you know, that's a good example of it, where it's like his songs are like, you know, he has great songs, you know, but the recordings are so, um, you know, they're such like, oh, I was going to say
Lo-fi, I
flawed. I
suppose,
don't
but
think
yeah.
they are flawed. Yeah, but yeah, they're so lo-fi or like so like damaged sounding that it
Hmm.
actually makes the songs better. You know what I mean? It like there's something about it that adds to it. You know?
Yeah, it's like a tape that's been lost somewhere that's been found, kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, it's just
Uh,
that it sounds like it's just presented the correct way. It's like, oh, that's the way these songs should be presented or something. You know?
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
All right, let's go into the next one then, because the real losers. Did Gary produce some of their songs or something?
Yeah, all right, okay, yeah. Speaking of like lo-fi recordings, but um yeah, so like you know, I think that like the 2000s era after like the Strokes and stuff came out, it's always like remembered as being like you know, people call it garage rock revival, but um to some people like garage rock it didn't need reviving, it never went away, you know, like so in Leeds, there was a label called Squirrel Records. We had our studio, like we had a really, really basic lo-fi studio in Wakefield that we'd set up like probably in the year 2000 because you know, we were at college, but we kind of left college because we didn't really, you know, it just wasn't working for us, and we so we spent our time setting up this like you know really basic kind of like lo-fi analog studio, and there was a label in Leeds called Squirrel Records that we knew. They put out the first Crib 7 inch like a few years later, but like they had always like you know the bands that they were putting out and the you know kind of like the I guess you'd say like the scene that they were on was all kind of like Riot Girl and noise rock and garage rock, because garage rock has always had its you know like I said, it never really went away, it was just on the underground. So that we got to know all those guys like the Real Losers, and the Real Losers they are you know they're like the most legit garage rock band. They're like uh, uh, they're they're a band that were always like very respected on that scene. You know, like did multiple tours of like the States and Europe and stuff. And yeah, they just like you know, their records just got reissued recently in the States. So, um, but they like yeah, we recorded them at our studio because they I think they'd done like some recordings at like some like proper studios or like you know like more uh you know more fancy studios or something, but the like it was always too clean from like their uh you know like their vision of how garage rock should have been was not like you know it was like they refer to it as jet sonic, which is you know it always had to be like you know we at our studio we were happy to like run everything in the red and distort everything, and you know we had a way of recording where we would just put up loads of mics and then let the band play live in the studio, which was the best way to record those guys. And I don't know, like like the two records that we recorded for them, I think that they're just the best garage records of the 2000s without question. And I think that anyone who is like a connoisseur of actual garage rock, I don't mean like garage rock as the NME knew it, like you know would like you know would agree that these you know there were some of the best most legit garage rock for sure of the 2000s.
Okay, great. Well, here, let's play it. Here's the Real Losers with Treat Me Bad. Right, mate, here's where I'm going to grill you about songwriting then. So,
Okay.
um, but yeah, like some of those riffs from back in the day, how would they come about, say, like Another Number or something like that?
Um, it's hard to say because there was never a time where uh, there was never a time where we ever felt like we were like, oh, we've got to go write some songs, or like, I wouldn't go, I wouldn't like bring something like that in. I wouldn't, like say like the riff for Another Number. That's not something that I would sit around and write on the couch. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't work without the rest of the band. It would sound really kind of. It just wouldn't sound like anything if it was just like just the guitar riff. I wouldn't write that at home. So all the, especially in the early days when we all before we all moved to like different parts of the world, all the songs were written together in the same room, and it was just like we would finish work on a night, and we would spend the evening at our rehearsal room, and it was all just jamming. You know what I mean? It all just came out of just jamming. It was like it was never like there wasn't really much. Uh, there wasn't really much form to what we were doing. It wasn't like, oh, we need to write some songs. So what have you got? Let's try this, let's try that. We just kind of we just start playing together. That was it, and just see what came out. And it says something like Another Number, like maybe that riff came out like 10 minutes into a jam, and we're like, oh, that bit was cool, and then you'd stop and then just play around that, and like kind of like bash it out that way. So it was never, like it's hard to say how those like there's songs that we've done like more recently where it's either me or Gary will come in with like an idea or a demo or whatever. But in those early days, it was all just it all just came out of us just playing together in the same room and just seeing what happened. It wasn't regimented at all. So it's really, I'm not just trying to be like vague, but it's like really hard to say how it came about. I mean, when it comes to like the way that I play guitar, which is more kind of like riff based and melodic and stuff. I mean, I don't even really know where that comes from. I think it's just that's just the it's just the way that I like guitars to be. I like them to be melodic. I like to me the riff is the most important part of any song. That's always been the way that I've seen it. So yeah, it's all spontaneous anyway.
Okay. So, like, if you say, like, what came first, the riff or the song, there's no real answer to that.
No, because um because no, yeah, the reason because it was they all came about at the same time. It all came out together, and then we would just like I said, be jamming for a while, and something like that would come out, and then you would like stop and be like, oh, like let's work on that, and then you would just hammer it out. But it all came into the riff came into existence at the same time as the drum beat, which came into existence at the same time as Gary's melodies and lyrics and stuff.
Yeah. Did you record a lot of rehearsals as well and kind of like pick the bones out of it?
Recorded every rehearsal. We've got we like so the last few years since we got our catalog back, which I won't go too much into that now, but like um, a few years ago, that's why we had like this like big thing where we would uh, we weren't going to tour for a while and stuff because like we were in kind of like a dispute with our ex label. After we got the catalog back, we've been trying to like archive and digitize everything, like absolutely everything. And so like getting everything together and pulling all the tapes together, like it's taken ages, as you can imagine, because a lot of them are with like, you know, everything's like so disparate. Like there'll be tapes in different countries or with different at different studios, or you know what I mean. Like just physically getting it all back together and tracking stuff down was really difficult. But like that's so that like we're pretty much at the end of that process now, but it's been an ongoing process for like the last 5 years, I would say. But when we were doing that, it also helped uncover a load of stuff like a lot. Like we used to record all our rehearsals on mini discs, so we've managed to find like all the mini discs, and we've converted all that to like digital files and stuff, and like all the half-inch master tapes that we had at our old studio, we had to like bake all the tapes and transfer them digitally, which is actually where we found the Real Losers master tape, which is why Gary could remix it recently. Right. Like, you know, we found like loads of stuff that we didn't know that we still had on these old tapes and old mini discs. And honestly, those rehearsals that we've got on mini disc that are all just jams, there's loads of stuff that could have been songs that really fit with the vibe of the first album and the second album. Like, you know, we have like, I don't know, let's say like between 7 and 10 mini discs. No, I don't know. I don't know how many we've got all together, but let's say each album has got like 5 mini discs of jams with it, you know, and like only, you know, obviously only 12 of them became songs, but there's loads that we just completely forgot about and didn't use. I'd say that some of it is some of our, like some of those like rehearsal room mini discs. Like for me to listen to, I think it's some of our best stuff because it's also spontaneous and natural, and there's loads of good ideas that never got used, loads.
Do you reckon we'll ever hear them? Or...
I mean, like the sound really, really, you know, they don't sound great because it was just a mini disc player with a pair of earphones plugged in as the microphone.
Right.
So they don't sound great, but I like also, I know. I just heard myself then when I said, "Oh," and there's all this stuff and it's great, and I was like, "That's like," it just made me cringe because it sounds really like egotistical or whatever. I just mean in comparison to our other stuff is what I mean. You know what I mean? To me,
yeah,
I was like it's exciting listening to it, and it's stuff that I just didn't know. I didn't remember the ideas for a start, but I also didn't know that they still existed. So it's like hearing all that stuff that after we digitized, it was like hearing like brand new. For me, it was like hearing brand new Cribs songs. I mean, I don't know how we would use it. I mean, I don't think there's particularly an audience out there for like a you know a 10 vinyl box set of like mini disc recordings of us jamming. You know
we
what I
might be
mean?
surprised.
Like,
I don't know.
yeah. All right, well, keep, you know, maybe it'll happen. Who knows? Deluxe box set. It comes with like a T-shirt and an enamel badge and a foam dome.
Look forward to it, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm always interested, right? When you say you're just jamming, did you have like the musical knowledge to be like, right, this is in G or whatever, or were you just
No,
playing what
no,
sounded good?
no. We never ever had like. So me and Gary should have, and Ross as well, because we played violin for years. You know, so like me and Gary were like concert violinists. Like when we were we weren't professional. I mean, we were at professional level. Like we'd done like grade 8 and stuff, but we were in like local uh, orchestras that did concerts. My heart was never in it. You know, it was just. Uh, Although I do like classical music, and especially more now, and I wish I'd kept up to playing violin actually. But so me and Gary had extensive musical theory knowledge that we've been doing musical theory since we were like 6 years old. So we did know about all that stuff, but for some reason we'd never we never translated it to the guitar. Like still even now, if someone says to me to play like, and then just name a chord, like it's like I still, it's to me, it's almost like there's like uh, I don't know. It's like I just don't relate it to guitar. So no, we never said anything like that. It was just like I don't know if it's with us being brothers. It was just instinctual that we can play together. You know what I mean? And we know like if we're having if we're just playing together and jamming, I know where he's gonna go, even if he's gonna go somewhere, even if he's gonna try and modulate and go somewhere really weird. It's like I can feel where he's going. You know what I mean? And he's the same with me. It's like it, like we don't need to like it's like we've never needed to know the theory or the keys and stuff, because I guess because we grew up listening to the same music and we're into the same stuff, emotionally. I think that we always just have a good idea what each other's shooting for.
Yeah, yeah. No, like, yeah, I could never do jamming with my band because of that reason. I just didn't
Yeah.
click or whatever. But yeah, no, it's interesting.
No, that's the thing. I think a lot of people assume that when I say jamming. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people say that like, okay, everyone, like, well, this is in the key of G, and we're just gonna like, you know what I mean? It was nothing like that at all. It's certainly a lot more spontaneous than that. And uh, one thing that you'd be surprised at how little discussion went into any of the writing of our songs. If you listen to these mini discs and there's really very little talking on there. You know what I mean? There was
Yeah.
never really, there was not much dissection or discussion that went into uh, writing the crib stuff.
Oh, okay. And then it felt like when you got to the third album, like playing riffs and singing, like in terms of like the likes of you and Alex Turner, kind of pretty mind blowing how you play some of those riffs and sing at the same time. Is that like a learned thing? Like, how do you do it?
So and it's one thing that it's kind of got harder and harder over the years as well because it's like I used to like when we used to write together. Um, because both me, do I need to turn the light on? It's getting
That'd
dark.
be good, mate. Sorry, I should have mentioned that. Yeah. Yes.
But it's because me and Gary both sing. Like it used to be when we were playing, if we were jamming in the rehearsal room, it was like whoever came up with an idea, they were going to be the singer. Whoever came up with a melodic idea or a lyric or whatever, whoever got to the microphone first, they were going to sing that song. Um, but as the years went by, I started focus. So at that point, you're not thinking about the riffs that much. You're thinking about like the vocals and the guitar at the same time. So it's not as riff focused. But as time went by, I really started focusing more on the guitar and the riffs, and like that kind of became the thing that I enjoyed the most was like trying to write, the prettiest riff I could, or like the most interesting riff I could. That I kind of got more out of that than just standing up and singing a song and playing chords and stuff. But it would get to the point where, like after we recorded the song or demoed it, um, if I had then gone on to if I had written the riff and then gone on to write the lyrics and the melody and put them on the recording, that I would be hit with like the dilemma. Oh well, can you actually do this? Can you actually play it and sing it at the same time? Some of them it would come quite easily. It's kind of like that thing where you rub your stomach and pat your head at the same time.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like it's really, really like like your left brain, like the two halves of your brain just aren't speaking to each other correctly. Um, some of them will come. Some of the ones that I thought would be the most difficult, like actually came the easiest, and then some of them, like which I don't know if you like. I don't like the one that I really struggled with above and beyond all of them was men's needs, which it doesn't seem like that one would be that hard because it's repetitive. that one was really hard, and that was a case of like before we started touring it, I went down to our rehearsal room on my own, without my brothers, and just like drilled it for hours and hours, for days at a time, until like until it becomes muscle memory, until it becomes second nature. That's the only one I can remember having to do that with, because that riff had to be precise. It had to, I couldn't like it had to be consistent and precise. So that one needed like loads of rehearsing. But like there hasn't really been that many that have been like that since. But like let's just say that whenever we write a record, the first few rehearsals afterwards are really ropey. You know what I mean? It takes like because you don't know, like a lot of them I'll go into it not knowing if I can sing it and play it at the same time. Most of them will come just with regular rehearsal, but some of them really needed really needed drilling.
Yeah, yeah. And like when you go into like a tour now, like because you got so many songs, do you have to like practice that set kind of thing to get it in your head, or does it all come naturally at that point?
Yeah, not so much. Like, we'll usually, with us all living apart, we'll usually get together and do some, like, we usually like leave like a week, like, after me and Gary will fly into the UK, we'll have like a week to just run through the set. But usually, unless we're rehearsing new stuff, we don't need that amount of time. And I don't like stuff to be too rehearsed anyway. I always
Yeah,
think
yeah.
like for me, the best day of the tour is always the first date. Like usually people are like, oh no, it gets better as it goes along, or like the last date should be the big show and stuff. I always find like the first show of a tour is the best, because it's kind of because it's not as well oiled. You know what I mean? So it kind of like it has like an energy to it where it's obviously new to you again. But we have done like a few tours where we're specifically like bringing back like old songs that we haven't played in ages, or like B-sides and stuff. We definitely like will set aside more rehearsal time for stuff like that. But I mean, it's tough when you've got like so many, you've been going for so long and you've got so many songs, because the main problem I find with that is that you like get handcuffed to doing like a similar set, because like there's certain songs that people expect you to play live every time they see you, and if you're only playing for like an hour, you know what I mean? You really don't want it to just be all the songs that people know, because that's so
Mm.
boring. So like we'll have to, we do like go back and forth a lot on stuff like this, like purposefully trying to like come up with like the most obscure track that we can to start adding into the sets, or like we have to get like pretty brutal about dropping songs that like that people expect us to play. Like I never need to play Men's Needs again, for example. You know what I mean? Played it and it's like another number. We've played that at basically every show since 2004, but I actually still really like playing that song. That riff has not got old to me, whereas the riff for Men's Needs has got old to me straight away. Because like once you've done the video and done TV and stuff for it, and like heard it, like that was like commercially that was our most successful song. That like I was excited. We were really excited about that song when we first wrote it, but that one got old to me really quick. Another number didn't, for whatever reason.
No, to be honest, I had the same experience as a fan. For
Yeah,
that reason, I remember you put it on MySpace first, maybe Men's Needs, and it was like, wow, this is ace. But yeah,
yeah,
because like radio hammered it, I feel like it's just radio's go-to song for you guys, isn't it? And it's just been overplayed for that
yeah,
reason, maybe. Yeah.
yeah. It's a shame stuff like that it's like it's almost like it gets set in stone, or that was your most successful song, so therefore that will always be your most successful song. It's like that's kind of like it's a bummer that it works that way, because it's very rarely a band's best song that becomes the one that they're most well known for. Bizarrely though, Be Safe is always like our, maybe not on the radio, but when it comes to like streaming numbers, that is always like either the first or second most streamed song, like, which
Okay.
is like, I get like, you know, something like that I get a kick out of, because that was just a jam in a studio that we recorded. You know what I mean? That was not you know, that was kind of like about as free form as it was possible for us to get, and that's one of our, you know, that's consistently either, it's always like number two. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, not safe to be fair. But yeah, it's interesting because I think Julian Casablanca said recently that he'd quite happily never play Last Night again, which you can understand,
I'm
definitely.
sure, yeah, I'm sure.
It's interesting. I was watching a video not long ago where I'm pretty sure the only UK band back in the day that he said he liked was you guys, like in about 2006. Like, were you aware of
Yeah.
anything like that, or not really?
Um, it's one of those things that he's so busy. Like at that point, we were so busy because, like, obviously, um, you know, that style that came after the Strokes, like, you know, that whole like wave of like people being interested in guitar music. You know, once that became mainstream, like you could, like, there was even in just the UK, like we could have focused on just the UK and been so busy that you never stopped. I mean, we used to do tours that was like, you do 30 dates in the UK, and when you got to the end, you just go back round again. You know what I mean? Because there was just such a massive demand for it. So when, like, I remember hearing about stuff like that. Like maybe someone told me at a show or something. Someone had seen it on MTV, but we were never at home to watch MTV. You know what I mean? We were always like in a dressing room somewhere. So you'd hear people tell you this stuff, but you'd think, oh, you know, they could just be bullshitting me. You know what I mean? Like they might just be like talking shit to me because this is someone that I'm having a drink with tonight or whatever.
Hmm.
But then I seem to remember, and I did hear about that at the time because I feel like our manager had told us about it. He was like, "Oh, this was cool," but I hadn't seen it until I think my mum had recorded it off MTV for me when I got home from tour. She's like, "Oh, you were on TV again."
Maybe she's want to put it on YouTube. I don't know.
What is it on? Is it on YouTube?
Yeah, it's like an interview with Alex Zane, and
I have to watch it. That's just for nostalgia reasons. I mean, it's not like that. Like, oh, like there was, you know, I'm sure there's like loads of stuff like that over the years that people have forgotten about. People will remember stuff like that because, like, you know, you know, like anything Strokes related, I'm sure is online, and I bet there must be Strokes fans out there that have like literally, like, any time they've been mentioned on the TV, it's going to be on YouTube, you know. So
pretty much with
yeah,
like Reddit and stuff now, it's like mad. Yeah.
yeah.
But how often did he play with them? Did he play a gig with Paris? And let's say that again. Did you play a gig in Paris with them at one point or something, or in France?
Um, no, no. So I'm trying to think if
I just remember seeing a
we
poster
definitely played with him
online.
in Paris. Yeah, we definitely played with him in Paris. I'm trying to think of when else we might have played with him. I mean, we did like festivals together and stuff. Like, I know that we played with them. Like when they headlined Leeds Festival in 2002, we were on that bill. You know, that
Okay.
was like, but that was before we had a record deal, and that we were just playing on one of the small stages. But we did hang out with them a little bit, um,
That
you know,
is.
in the backstage area and stuff. Like, yeah, I've always like, they've always been really nice to us. You know, like I've always got on, like, you know, got on well with Julian when we worked together, and like, I get on well with Albert. Don't really know the other guys that much, just Julian and Albert. But yeah, we played him. I think that was so that show that we did with him in Paris. That was just like a one-off show, though. I think it was supposed to be. I think there was supposed to be another few dates on that tour, but I think they literally ended up doing just Paris, and that was it. So we were just like in and out, you know. But it was great. They had an like, someone had put on an after show after that gig, like, somewhere in Paris. I can't remember where it was, but when you got there, it was like New Year's Eve themed, so they were like dropping balloons from the roof, and it wasn't anywhere near New Year, you know what I mean? But it was almost like being at a New Year's Eve prom party from like a US teen movie or something. It's cool.
Yes. And then just one more songwriting one before we get back. I say that again
Mm.
as well. One more songwriting one before I get back into the songs. Like the listening parties you did with Tim Burgess, like could pick loads of different things, but just one from that where you said about the wrong way to be, where that came from you shouting it down an alley in Camden or something. Is that right? Or something like that?
That would be. Are you sure Gary didn't say that?
I'm not sure.
I
Yeah.
think I feel like he wrote the lyrics to that one. So, but like
Right.
we never ask each other. Like I think we always know what the songs are about. He'll know what my songs are about. I know that he will do. And I have a good idea what his songs are about, but we never discuss it because I think that if you do discuss it, you're gonna make that person more self-conscious next time they write a song or they write lyrics. You know what I mean? They're not going to be as open because they're going to think, "Oh shit! Last time I wrote something, personal, and he pulled me up on it." You know what I mean? So we never discussed that stuff. But um, if it's in Camden, if
I
it
think
involves
so.
shouting down an alleyway in Camden, it'll be in Gaz that said that. I'm sure it will.
Ah, fair play.
Or Gary, should I say?
I picked the wrong one there. Okay, well, let's go back to the songs then. The Sleepy Jackson with Dirty Now. What's
Yeah,
the story with this one?
yeah. So I picked "Don't You Know" because this was like a song that they always used to sound check with, but we'll go for "Good Dancers" instead. They've got a song called "Good Dancers," so we'll do that instead, right?
Oh, right, okay.
Is that cool? It's
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
like it's just like "Don't You Know" is great. It's probably like their best song in my opinion, but "Good Dancers" was their single. Um, so like this again, this goes back to like before the Cribs had a record deal. Oh no, well we were getting signed, but like we knew we knew what was happening, but Ross was under 18, so we had to like wait a year before we could sign a deal, and we had to wait for Ross to turn 18. But in that time, so 2003, the this record came out, the Sleepy Jackson record. Now they're from Australia. Do you remember that band Empire of the Sun?
I think I remember the name. I'm not sure though.
Yeah. Well, Luke, the singer in that, it was his band before he did Empire of the Sun. Um, like me, Gary, and Ross all used to work in a factory together. So when we were waiting, like we were in this
Toilet Rolls.
exactly and napkins and stuff. But while we were in this like gap waiting for Ross to turn 18, we stayed working in the factory, and they'd have Radio One on all the time there. You know what I mean? Like you work in a factory, the radio's on. They had Radio One on there, and they played this song "Good Dancers" by the Sleepy Jackson. And I just thought it was really good. I mean, it's so rare that you hear something on the radio that is actually good. You know what I mean? On Radio One at the time, it was so rare that like I'd be at work and I'd hear something on the radio that'd prick my ears up. And then um, just coincidentally we got a phone call from the promoter at the Cockpit in Leeds saying, "Oh, we want you to support this band Sleepy Jackson." So I was like, "Oh yeah, well we heard them on the radio. They were great." So we agreed to do it. And then we got a phone call from the promoter of the Lead Mill in Sheffield asking us to open for the Sleepy Jackson there. So we basically, even though we didn't have an agent or a record deal at the time, we basically ended up we did all the northern dates on their tour just because the separate promoters had asked us to open for them. So yeah, we got to know them on those shows, and we got on really well with them. And so when they went on when they did their full tour, they came back and did like a full tour of like, you know, London, Astoria, you know, bigger rooms and stuff. They asked for us to open on that. You know, when they came and did a proper tour, they asked for us to open because we'd done like Sheffield and Leeds with them. So that was our first ever experience of touring, was going out with Sleepy Jackson in 2004. We'd never toured before, and it, like we you know, it was just because those guys asked us to do it. And now, like, I've been on tour for so many years of my life, it's kind of like, it's crazy to think that before they asked us to do that, I had no idea what touring was like, you know. It's like they opened the door to it for us.
Okay, so here they are. Here's the Sleepy Jackson with Good Dancers. Um, and then yeah, let's just go straight into the next one if you want. Hidden Cameras, is it, with Shame?
Yeah.
I've put
So
church
this is
vibes to
like,
this.
so like, this is kind of related because the um when we did those show, when we did that Leeds show and that Sheffield show with Sleepy Jackson, the Hidden Cameras were on those dates as well. It was like a package tour. Now the Hidden Cameras were from they're from Canada, a Canadian band, and they were signed to Rough Trade, so they were a Rough Trade band at the time, and like this was a like yeah, 2003, 2004. We were having discussions with Rough Trade at the time, and uh, they were just I still find them quite a fascinating band, like, because I feel like, remember when the Arcade Fire came out in like 2005 or whatever? They were using some of the same members that were in the Hidden Cameras, and I always felt like, I remember seeing the Arcade Fire at the Mercury Lounge in New York during CMJ week, because they were like the hyped band at the time. And when I saw them, to me, it felt like they'd kind of like copped a lot of their ideas from the Hidden Cameras, because Hidden Cameras were like, it was almost like a quasi-religious kind of vibe that they had. There was quite a lot of them in the band, and it was very, very subversive, and like, had like a, quite like, it's I don't know how to explain it really. I don't know the best way to explain it. Um, anyway, well, it had this like, it was like, again, it was like a paradoxical thing where it was it it was it had like, it almost had like a religious feel to it. They
Yeah,
recorded
yeah.
all their stuff in churches. It's and but then it also was very explicit, in it was very sexually explicit as well. Like, so, like, it was this like interesting rub, this interesting like, like two things that you just don't really see as going together. But I mean lyrically sexually explicit. I don't mean like on stage or whatever. But I kind of felt like when, when like I said, the Arcade Fire, I feel like they had some members in common with the Hidden Cameras. I think that the fact that it was a large collective and had this like somewhat, almost like vaguely religious vibe to it. Not religious, like, what's, because it's not religious, is it? But like, where it's like, I can't think of what the word is, where it's kind of like playing with that. But playing with that idea. But like, yeah, so we'd done the, like, anyway, we got to know them when we did these shows with the Sleepy Jackson. We did Leeds and Sheffield with them. Got on really well with the Hidden Cameras. But when we did the Sheffield day, Ross had got ill. He got labyrinthitis, which is like vertigo, which is where, it's like an inner ear problem where you basically can't stand up. He's like, so like, he was so sick that he couldn't get out. He was like really nauseous. Like, like every time he moved his head, it would make him throw up. And but we had this show in Sheffield with Hidden Cameras and Sleepy Jackson, and like, I remember seeing him in the bathroom, like he's like really trying to hold his head up, and he's like zipping his leather jacket up, like getting ready for the show, but he's like cannot stop throwing up, but he's determined that we're still going to do the show. We didn't, you know what I mean? It was too harsh. I was like, man, you've just got to go get back in bed, because it was just, I don't know, it just looked so depressed. He could barely walk, you know what I mean? And I don't know, there was no way he could have played drums that night. But we went down, me and Gary went down to the show anyway, just to hang out with the band. So we started getting on really well with them then. And then they asked me to join. So they asked me to join them on stage for their London show at the ICA, because on violin. So I was playing violin in the Hidden Cameras at the ICA in London, and they had other musicians like Patrick Wolf was playing. I can't remember what instrument he played. He was in the Hidden Cameras for a little while. So it was almost like this. It was almost like this, like you know, collective of musicians. You know what I mean? It was pretty freeform, and it was fun. You know, I really enjoyed their record was great. The record they put out on Rough Trade, The Smell of Our Own, was great, and it really reminds me of this whole kid, because we just listened to it a lot. Shame's a great song, and you know, Joel, the main singer, I stayed in touch with him, because, like I was saying, like, you know, you used to kind of have like a relationship with people by mail, where people would you know, you'd stay in touch via mail, and he would send me records and stuff. We were trying to get him to put out the first Cribs record on his label. I'm going really off topic here. Just play the fucking song, man.
All right, well, here it is. Here's the Hidden Cameras with Shame. All right, yes. And then, unless there's anything you want to say about that, but I can crack into the next one if you want.
I just rambled about it for ages. I don't think I need to add to it.
That's all good. And then the next one is it's by Unwound, and it's called October All Over.
Yeah.
And it's quite grungy. That's my only notes on this one.
Yeah, it's like, so they were another Kill Rock Stars band. Again, a lot, like, basically, like, looking at these songs now, I realize that most of them are the early 2000s. It's all like 2000 to like 2005. There's not really much. I think there might be like one song from after that period. Should maybe have gone for like more of a, you know, more of a spread, really. But so yeah, like this at the same time that we got, like, I was talking about the first song, Princess and the Pony. The like, it was summer 2001 or 2002. Gary had ordered loads of records from Kill Rock Stars, and so that's all we listened to that summer. And the Unwound record, Leaf Turn Inside You, was one of the records that we got. So we just listened to it all the time that summer. It's pretty, you know, it was quite grungy. I feel like they kind of went a bit more experimental and prog on this record. Not prog necessarily, but they went like, yeah, there was, you know, there was a lot of different stuff on this record. And October All Over was our favourite song on it. Like, Cribs used to jam on it on stage from time to time on the riff. It was just such a good riff, you know. Like, so some people might, if people that have seen us live, people, you know, people that are listening or watching that have seen us live may have heard us like jam on this riff a few times during like the noise sections of the set. It's just good. It's just good music. I don't know. I don't really know what else to say about it. I don't know them. I don't know. Like, I know that. Like, I think my brother went to go see him in Portland recently. I think he knows a couple of the guys from the band these days. But it's just they were always like, you know, they were always one of our favourite bands, I would say.
Okay, so here they are. Here's Unwound with October All Over. And the next band, I could definitely hear the Cribs in this one.
Yeah.
Come Again with Fingernail for You.
Well, this was,
yeah. Go on, sorry.
This was one of our favourite bands when the Cribs started. You know what I mean? I like, Comic Game was always like one of our, I'm not going to say influences because we don't sound anything like them, but it was like one of the bands that we really, really, like, when the Cribs were first getting going, this is what we were into, you know what I mean? This is the music that we were into.
Yes. Well, let's play it then. Here's Comet
Well,
Game
like,
with. Sorry. Go on.
I need to ramble about it for at least like another like 10 minutes, though, right? But um, like this song always reminds me of being on uh 2005 when we were on tour a lot. It reminds me of like doing festivals, sitting in like vans that are like, like I feel like summer 2005 was a really wet summer. I always felt like we were sat in or driving in a van somewhere where it's like really
I don't
raining
want
heavily.
Glastonbury meant to like, yeah, yeah.
Was it? Well, yeah,
I think
so
it got washed out, yeah.
yeah, it just really reminds me of that whole summer, just like everything, like just being in a van in the rain and going to like we were at a festival like nearly every day that summer. It was great. It was like to us, we like it sounds like that there sounds to be like something bleak about that, but to us that was what I mean. So we loved that bleakness, and like we did a cover of this song a couple of years ago for a compilation, but the original is obviously the best.
Yeah, fair play. Well, here it is. Here's Comet Game with Fingernailed for You. And then going into the last one, I found it an interesting choice because I really loved that Julian Casablancas' first solo album.
Yeah,
And I forgot it only had 8 songs on it, looking at it today.
yeah.
But why this particular one?
Well, I kind of felt like I had to put something like this on. When I looked at my list, and it was all stuff that was like, to me, it was all stuff that was like very specific to me and my brothers. You know what I mean? I wanted to put something that um, that more people would like, you know, like recognize. You've got to have a Julian song. You know what I mean on this list, but. Um, I mean, this is 2000s, right? It wasn't 2010s.
I think it was right at the end, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I lived in London at the time, and they, do you remember when the Strokes, I had no idea Julian was doing a solo record, but do you remember when the Strokes did that show as Venison?
Yeah, you had the t-shirt, didn't you?
I did, yeah, because I was at that show, because I lived in London at the time. So someone had told me that they were playing. So me and the guy that does our artwork, Nick Scott, went down to go see him. Now, when I was there, um, like I was there with Kelly from Rough Trade Records, and she was telling me about how Julian was doing a solo record. So she sent me it in the mail, and then we went to go see Julian at I think he was at the Forum or the Astoria when he came out to promote that record. I thought it was I really liked it. I really liked the album, and I really liked the live show that he was doing around then, because it was really polished. I felt like the album was really polished compared to like what he was known for doing with the Strokes. Um, and the live show, like when we went to go see him, was almost more like it almost felt more like going to see a pop star or something rather than a band. You know what I mean? Did you see him on that tour?
Yeah, someone in Manchester that tour, yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, because he had almost like a band around him, didn't he?
Yeah,
And
I
stuff.
don't know. I just because I guess like these days, because the Strokes went so like people would associate Julian and the Strokes with like an 80s influence now, wouldn't they? But before this record came out, you didn't have that association. You know what I mean? You only had the first three records, so this
Mm.
was almost like when he stepped into that kind of stepped into that mold. So I thought, yeah, like I listened to when, like I said, Rough Trade had sent me a copy of the record. I listened to it a lot. I listened to it a lot when it came out. I just thought I thought it was really good. I really liked the production. I thought it was a good idea. It seemed really stylish. Uh, seemed really stylish to me. But the other thing is like this was always my favorite song on that record. I always thought it was like I definitely thought it was the best track on that record. And the funny thing is I was when when we were putting out the exclamation point single through Julian's label, I went out. We were having sushi together near the cult officers, and um, like he just happened to mention to me, like when we were there, that Jen, my girlfriend, played the guitar solo on that record. Now I had no on that song. Now I
Oh
had
wow.
no idea about that. She'd like never mentioned it to me. So like I get when I got home, I was like, "Did you play? Was it like was he just like talking? Was he just like messing with me or something?" No, it turned out that she had done it, but just never mentioned it to me. And I just thought that was cool that like you can do something like that and just be that unbothered that you just don't even mention it. You know what I mean?
No, definitely, yeah.
But
One
that was my
like,
favorite bit of the song as well, coincidentally.
okay, because one of him was in his band as well, weren't they?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like I, there was also that guy JP.
Oh, the Guru.
Yeah, he
Oh,
was in it as
really?
well. I remember meeting him that night.
All right, I didn't know
Yeah, he was in. I mean, I didn't make that connection. I mean, uh, I'm not that versed in that. I'm not that like in that like nerdy element of stuff. But like it's like you put all these things together afterwards, don't you? But like yeah,
that.
I
Yeah,
think he was in the band when I saw him. I don't know if it was the same when you saw him in Manchester, but
maybe. Yeah. Did you have a figure type like that around the early days that was like a bit of a wise person to lean on or whatever?
oh no, the 2000s, every band had a guru,
Oh,
like
really?
yeah, yeah. It's a little known fact. It's like everyone's been trying to keep it secret and under, it's one of the, it's the biggest open secret in the music industry. Is all those 2000s bands, they all had a guru, man. It don't matter what they're saying.
I know Kings Leon did because it's, but I don't know about
I
anyone
was
else.
actually joking, but it does. Yeah, they did, didn't they? They worked with a songwriter. No, we never had anything like that. Like,
Okay.
where are we going to find a guru in Wakefield? You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, tap up Paul Heaton or something. I don't know.
Yeah, Paul Sykes.
What a legend. But one thing about that album, right? It's like I don't know if it's a myth or whatever. Or Julian said it just once, but he said he's like he almost like regrets that album, like he feels like he pandered to the audience too much. Do you get that at all or not?
I think that's a shame that he feels like that. I know that like obviously the stuff that he did with the Voids is being a lot more like it's a lot less accessible, isn't it? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So um, I don't think there's any question that when he was making that record, he was trying to write pop songs. You know what I mean? Because the Strokes hadn't gone pop at that point.
mm.
Like so. I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with making a pop record. I thought it was really well done. I thought he made a good pop record, but I wouldn't have considered it pandering to the fans because I don't think that's what Strokes fans wanted at that time. They wanted more Gordon Raphael produced, you know, like
Yeah,
stuff
true.
like that. That's what Stroke fans have always wanted, really, isn't it? So um, I wouldn't have considered that record to be pandering to the fans at all. To me, at the time, it seemed uh, like yeah, it seemed it wasn't what I was expecting. It seemed out of left field. You know what I mean?
No, it still sounds fresh now, so it stood the test of time massively, I think.
I think it's his best solo record, personally.
Yeah, yeah. There's like a really good video of him playing it on Letterman. I think he plays Out of the Blue on Letterman, so that's a good one to revisit for anyone listening if they want to see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there's another kind of myth about this song in particular that he wrote it for his wife. Apparently, it wasn't supposed to be on an album, but then
Right.
she said, "Look, it's so good, put it on the album." But I don't
No,
expect that now.
that is interesting because um like I'm interested. I find that really fascinating that he has that same relationship that I was talking about earlier because it's like because he wrote it for his wife, he didn't want it on an album, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think that's the story. Yeah.
That's exactly why I didn't want to put out the exclamation pony stuff. I didn't write it for that reason. It was songs I was writing for Jen, and I was like, to me, I was like, that meant that it had already fulfilled what I wrote the songs for. I had no, you know, I I had no other intentions for it apart from that, and that's why I never really wanted to put it out. I didn't see there being any need to put it out. It's not what I wrote it for, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Okay, well,
interesting that he felt the same way about that song.
yeah, yeah. I think, well, it's another one of these kind of. I don't know if it's a myth or I said it once that's been remembered. I think, but I think that
No,
might be the
but
case.
I can totally believe it. I can totally believe it because it's like, it,
I think the actual story is he used to write a song every year for her,
yeah,
and this was one of them. Like maybe every Christmas or something. Again, this might be
yeah.
conjecture by fans. I don't know, but
That's the thing. It's weird then, isn't it, when you give it to everyone else by releasing it? I mean, I've always had this thing where when we write a record and record a record, like I love the songs and I really like it, and then from the minute that we release it, I'd never want to listen to it again because it's almost like your relationship changes with it so massively once other people have heard it. You know what I mean? So I can see that whole I can understand that concept of wanting to keep some songs just for yourself, you know what I mean? Where as soon as other people hear it, your relationship with it changes. So the only way to stop your relationship with it changing is to make sure no one else ever hears it.
yeah, yeah. No, it's interesting, definitely.
Mm.
Well, let's play it then. Here's Julian Casablancas with Glass. All right, cheers, Ryan. Like, it's been great to chat again.
Yeah,
And
we've done.
well, it'd be remiss of me not to ask about crib stuff, like playing festivals next year and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, we'll do some festivals next year. Um, yeah, like.
You're playing with like Kaiser Chiefs and that and stuff.
Oh well, yeah, yeah. So it's the new fellas thing, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
we've got these 20 years of the new fellas. I'd actually overlooked that until we started getting through gig offers for it. Um, we were actually a little bit reluctant to do them at first because it's something we would have preferred to plan for ourselves. You know, like last year we did like that show in Liverpool for the first album. Um, but we hadn't actually planned anything for the new fellas, bizarrely. So yeah, we'll do these shows, a few festivals around it. But yeah, apart from that, you know, that like we're just kind of like you know the cribs are. You know, like we've spent so many years where we just never stopped. We were on the treadmill forever. So like these days, we're not as you know, we do it like we just get active when we feel like we really want to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it
That's going
must.
to get the
Yeah.
best results. And like I think that also like you know it's taken like a long time to like uh you know like we've all gone through lifestyle changes which is a wholly positive thing, you know, because like um for so many years we were just living for the band and it's so destructive to do that now I think we're all like when we reconvene um now I think we'll be in, you know, we'll be in a much better place and it'll be a much better, you know, we'll get much better results out of it, you know, because um we aren't so shackled to it.
No, yeah, it must definitely get to a point where you want to get out of that cycle of like make the
Totally.
album, tour the album, start the next one type thing.
But it doesn't matter what that cycle is either, because like I know that people might hear that and think that it sounds like ungrateful because it's like you're in a band, you know what I mean? But it wouldn't matter what if you were in like a regular routine like that for 20 years that was dominating your life and giving you absolutely no time to do anything else with your life. It wouldn't matter what that job was or what it was that you know you were shackled to. You'd be sick of it. You know what I mean? Could be anything.
No, definitely,
It's
yeah.
just important to have a change, you know.
And it'll lend itself to the music, like you say, like
Yeah,
in a
because we
positive
want to do.
way.
Yeah, it makes it so you know you get to the point where like me and my brothers, we go through phases where we just don't do any writing or don't want to do any writing, and then all of a sudden you're just desperate to do it, and you write a load of stuff really quickly. But if you you know, if you just stay at the coal face, you just don't really get good results. You know what I mean? I like to wait until, these days we like to wait until we're just absolutely desperate to do it and we need to do it, and then we just do it all really quickly.
Yeah, yeah. Do people approach you to produce the stuff and ever?
Yeah, like still get like you know, still get a lot of still get offers for that. We got a lot of offers for that, especially in the pop world. You know what I mean? Like the
All
pop,
right.
like people in the pop world, like ask me and Gary a lot, but it's like it's been difficult. It's always been difficult to with scheduling and stuff. You know what I mean? Because we all have always been like, when you're dealing with like other artists and then us, and we you both have conflicting schedules and stuff. It's always really like I feel like the only real way to go into production properly would be to like like doing a band and doing producing. It's just not going to work. I think it's something you got to commit to fully, just so that you've got the time to commit to it. You know what I mean? Like it's very rare that I would have the time to like that my schedule and another artist's schedule would tally up so that I can give them 2 months. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, yeah, fair play. And then just one more, because I spoke to Nick Hodgson obviously recently, and he said the idea of selling out now doesn't exist with the way that the music industry works. It was obviously a big thing back in the day.
Yeah.
Number one, do you agree with that? And number two, did you ever have like big decisions to make regarding like integrity, I suppose? Like you get like a big offer from an advert or something? I
No,
don't know.
so yeah, so selling out doesn't exist. It's not a concept to people anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, especially to like to the younger generations that grew up without like that concept of selling out. It's all about, um, you know, it's all about being, like being
Exposure type
co-signed by
thing.
a
Yeah.
company or validated and by a company it's not seen as a negative to me. And the thing that I can't get past is that art and commerce are awkward bedfellows. They don't work together. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So it's like it's fine to say that selling out doesn't exist anymore, but it's like that doesn't stop it diminishing the art. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
doesn't.
definitely.
It doesn't matter like whether or not people like conceptually people view it that way. It's like art and commerce still don't work together. I don't think they ever will work together. They're too diametrically opposed. You know what I mean? So yeah, selling out may not exist anymore, but it's like, but you still judge yourself. You know what I mean? Like I still like, I, God, I don't know. I mean, it would have to be a song that you just didn't care about at all. If you, no, I don't know. I still couldn't do it. I still couldn't do it.
Has there been times where you've had to like we've had offers on the table that
Yeah.
yeah. Has
I
it been
mean,
an easy
like,
decision though?
Uh, well, we just had hard and fast rules on stuff. You know what I
Okay.
mean? That's all. That's how we always did stuff. We just had hard and fast rules on it. So eventually, like, we had like our publishing company. Just there were certain things that they knew not to just the knew to not even bring to us. You know what I mean? Because they got used once they learned like what our rules were. I mean, we were pretty bloody minded about stuff. That I mean, I think we could have been a little bit more uh, flexible about stuff. I mean, it's in the heyday, like the mid 2000s. There's a massive laundry list of like stuff that we turned down, whether or not, like, we told you about the top of the pops thing and stuff like that. There's so many things that like, um, so many like things that would be considered good opportunities, or that we turned down because it just didn't. To us, it was distasteful. You know what I mean? Or it would like we just couldn't. It just didn't work for us. You know what I mean? It's just it didn't comport with the way that we saw what we were doing.
Yeah, is that the only one you regret then, Top of the Pops? Probably.
I do regret that one. I mean, it took me a long time to regret that one. like, you know, it was only since we started talking about it recently that I just always think, man, I just like.
It's almost retro now, isn't it? Now it's disappeared.
Exactly, yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's classic. It'd just be a classic thing to have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know, and you assume it's always going to be around forever. And everyone was on it, like Queen, Nirvana, everyone, you know, all the people I loved growing up did it. But and like I said, it's not like, you know, it's not like you get to hang your hat on the fact that you turned all this stuff down. It's all shit that people never hear about. People never know. You know, you do not get like knighted or given a medal for doing it. You know what I mean? It's like no one ever finds out about the shit that you didn't do. You know?
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, some great TV performances. Like I posted you on Jules Holland recently, and that went down a storm again.
Oh right,
But like, was
yeah.
that quite nerve-wracking at the time, even for you
All that
guys? I'm
stuff
not gonna.
all that stuff was all right.
Yeah, fair
I
enough.
thought it was fine. Yeah, I never particularly worried about it. But I think part of the reason that I didn't really worry about it, like I did used to watch Jules Holland every now and again when it was on. You know, before the Cribs, you know, were a professional band or a successful band or whatever, we did used to watch it on a night, and some of the best performances that I saw on there, or some of the more memorable ones that I saw on there, were ones that weren't perfect, ones that didn't go perfect. Like At the Drive-In was always one of the bands that I really remembered seeing on there because it was very scrappy, you know what I mean, and out of control. So I was like, I didn't care about being pro on those shows at all. I didn't see it as being like, if something goes wrong, then it's just going to be, you know what I mean? It being a disaster. We just never viewed stuff like that. I mean, like it wasn't like down to like a confidence that we weren't going to screw up. It's just we just didn't really. It was not a big deal to us if we did. You know what I mean? We weren't going to lose any sleep over it or like, you know, become nervous about doing it.
Yeah, yeah. No, fair play.
Mm.
All right, mate. Well, I'll let you go, and
Oh,
look forward to seeing. It seems to be quite a bit of a build up towards the All Points East one, so might try and
is
get
that?
down for that. It feels like it was like. I mean, I might cut this
Mm,
out, but personally, not buzzing about the Maccabees reforming, but like, seems to be quite a lot of buzz around it.
really? I mean, honestly, I I wouldn't know, man. I mean, I know that we like you know, when it comes to like the festivals and stuff like that as well, it's like I really am pretty hands off about.
Ah, fair enough.
I'm not a big like I'm not. I don't use social media much or anything like that. I really try and keep myself. Uh, I really try and you know keep outside of the industry as much as I can.
Yeah,
Like I don't care what's going on.
yeah.
I honestly don't care what's going on in the music industry. I couldn't care any. Nothing interests me less, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't really know what is. You know what I mean? It's not really like.
Yeah. No, if something good happens, I'll find out about. Like I'll find out about it.
Yeah,
If something really really good happens or a good album comes out, I'll find out about it. I really don't need to be kept abreast of that industry, you know.
no, yeah. Know what you mean? Did you watch the boxing last night?
Yeah.
What'd you make of it?
Did you watch it? Well, to be honest, and this is the way that I felt about both of them, about both Fury Usyk fights, is I feel like Fury has been unlucky to not win either of them. You know what I mean? I mean,
Mm,
Usyk is amazing. Usyk is a legitimate all-time great. Okay, we know that.
yeah.
But the first fight, no, the way that Usyk fights is that he he nicks the rounds in the last minute with activity, and then
Mm,
as a result, he can win the last few rounds of every fight because he's got more, you know, he's got better stamina. So he's
yeah.
like he wins stuff at the end, you know, he likes to win stuff at the end. I don't think that like I think in the fight last night, like I don't think he nicked the rounds. I don't think he nicked enough of the rounds. I think that the activity that he would do late in the round, if you saw it on the replay, Fury was largely avoiding or blocking a lot of it. It might have looked good, but I think that Fury's activity in the first 2 minutes of each round should have been worth more than his flurries in the last minute. is what I think. And I think it's a shame because I think the first fight, I thought it was going to be a draw, but you know, and I only thought it was a draw because of that knockdown in the ninth round. I was like, it's gonna be a draw now. But like obviously, Usyk won it by that 1 point. That knockdown made all the difference. I think it's sad that they've shared 24 rounds together, and all people are really going to remember is Fury getting hurt in the ninth round. I don't think that does. I don't think that does any justice to him at all. You know what I mean? I think he looked really good in both fights. Personally, I mean, I was speaking to Gary about it. He thought that Fury could have been a bit more aggressive in the last fight, but
It's easy to say that when it's like,
I
but
know. No,
Usyk's such a master at not getting
yeah, but
caught. But yeah, I
I
don't
know.
know.
But when Fury was coming forward, when he was putting up, because
Early on, yeah,
when he was pushing him back, he looked so big and so
yeah,
powerful.
yeah,
Like that. But what he would do is he didn't want to get greedy. He would go for, once he got him moving back, and he looked big and powerful, and then he would step back and reset because he didn't want to get caught by anything. He didn't want to get greedy and get caught.
yeah.
But I think he should have kept pressing his advantage. I think he was a bit too cautious. But I mean, look, what the fuck do I know? I'm never going to box. You know what I mean? I mean, I do a bit of boxing, but it's like it's ridiculous to have an opinion on it. I think they're both. I think they're both really like they both looked amazing to me. But
It's probably like convincing arguments either way, isn't there? Really, yeah.
yeah, I don't know. To, I feel like in both fights you had to give Usyk every benefit of the doubt. For the cards last night, I think you had to give Usyk the benefit of the doubt, every benefit of the doubt to get to that score. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Every swing round had to go to him. Every round where, where he might have nicked it had to go to him, I think. But
Yeah,
I like both guys, but I don't know. I feel like it was a bit harsh on Fury.
yeah. I
What
see it
did you
often.
think?
I couldn't really call it at the time, and then the commentary I was watching had Fury for most of it.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah,
They didn't on the one. I can't remember what I was watching on. They didn't have Fury for that, but I often find myself going against the commentary anyway.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not a particular expert, but like it seemed
Mm.
very, very close. And apparently, heard about this AI judge,
Oh yeah, but what did the AI have it?
exactly the same as the judges, I think.
Really?
I think so, yeah. But yeah, we'll see if it. I suppose he can't. I mean, Dubois getting in the ring was a bit much, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm like,
I suppose he gets pushed to do that probably, but
yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, because like, especially with it being Saudi Arabia, where they're just trying to get like the guy to just agree to it. You know what I mean? Because
yeah,
it'd be a much more big. It'd be a far bigger purse if it happens there than if Frank Warren puts it on in London. So
yeah.
but like, yeah, I don't know.
Like
Like,
Usyk seems mega, like he seems game to fight again, doesn't he? So we'll see.
yeah, no, I'm sure. I mean, he's already beaten him once,
So
hasn't
I
he?
mean,
Why
you're
not
like,
do it again?
it's quite a good point to retire, but he doesn't seem up for it.
No.
But fair play to him. All right, mate. I'll let you go anyway.
Yeah.
But cheers for that.
All
I'm
right.
out.
Cool. So,
I'll.
like, like, it's gonna. So it goes out on your radio thing as well, right?
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I'm gonna plan was to post just the chat
Mm.
on Patreon for Christmas Day, if that's cool with you.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then the radio show will be out in probably like mid-January.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, cheers for that,
Are you doing anyone else soon? Or
man. Over lined up. I mean, I've got quite a few main episodes to come out. Like Young Knives is out next month. Uh,
oh yeah, I saw some preview stuff for that one, right?
yeah, that was pretty good. Randomly interviewed Pete Doherty's sister is releasing an album.
She's released an album, is she?
I think it's a second album, but it's on his label. So
Cool.
that was an interesting shot. Bloke
When
from
does
the
that one come out?
February.
Right.
Then the Mardoos want to chat. So
Cool.
Gary was into them. What was it? Gary that said he was into them.
No, like so. No, yeah, they were good actually. They were good. Like they, uh, I mean, they only had like one record or something.
Yeah,
I
apparently it's like
remember them,
it's getting
right?
released in next month or something again.
Oh, they're re-releasing it.
Or yeah, has it never been on Spotify or something? He said
I
he's
don't think.
getting.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it hasn't. Yeah, no, it was good. Like we always liked that demo. I thought they were one of the more interesting of those London bands for sure. They didn't sound like they were trying to be the Libertines, you know.
yeah, yeah. I look forward to listening. And then Jimmy Lager from the Others in April.
Yeah,
Lindsay Melbourne, is that his name? Photographer.
right.
And then the Rakes manager. And that's about it. I need to like get another live show sorted. I mean, if you ever did fancy it, let me know. But
Yeah, I
and I
don't know
appreciate
when.
you live over there. I mean, I could do one in New York for that'd be a laugh.
Yeah, come do one out here. Yeah.